How do we learn to ride a bike, fear snakes, or stop touching a hot stove? Psychology defines learning as a relatively permanent change in behavior due to experience. We're not born knowing how to navigate life, we learn through interacting with the world. Let's explore how that works. There are three main types of learning: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, observational learning. Let's start with classical conditioning. This concept was discovered by Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov in the early 1900s, almost by accident. Pavlov was studying digestion in dogs. He noticed that the dogs began to salivate not only when food was placed in their mouths, but also when they saw the lab assistant who fed them. So, he experimented. He rang a bell right before giving the dogs food. After a few repetitions, the dogs started salivating just from hearing the bell, even if no food followed. Here's how it works. Unconditioned stimulus, US, the food, something that naturally causes a response. Unconditioned response, salivation, the natural reaction to the food. Neutral stimulus, NS, the bell, something that originally had no effect. Conditioned stimulus, CS, the bell, after being paired with food. Conditioned response, CR, salivation, triggered by the bell alone. This kind of learning explains phobias, advertising, and even emotional reactions. For example, if you hear a song while experiencing something emotional, that song might trigger that same feeling later. Next is operant conditioning, developed by American psychologist B.F. Skinner. Unlike classical conditioning, which pairs two stimuli, operant conditioning is about consequences, how rewards and punishments shape behavior. Skinner used a device called the Skinner box, where rats or pigeons could press a lever to get food. Here's how operant conditioning works. A reinforcer increases the likelihood of a behavior happening again. Positive reinforcement adds something good, like giving candy for doing homework. Negative reinforcement removes something bad, like turning off a loud noise when a button is pressed. A punishment decreases the likelihood of a behavior. Positive punishment adds something unpleasant, like getting a speeding ticket. Negative punishment takes something good away, like losing phone privileges. The key is consistency and timing. A reward given right after a behavior is more effective than one given much later. Skinner believed that much of human behavior is shaped through these patterns, from how we study for exams to how we interact on social media. The third type of learning is observational learning, also known as modeling or social learning. This was studied by Albert Bandura, especially in his famous Bobo doll experiment in the 1960s. In this study, children watched adults interact with a large inflatable doll. Some adults behaved aggressively, hitting or yelling at the doll. Others were gentle or ignored it. The result? Kids who saw aggression were more likely to imitate it, hitting and shouting at the doll themselves. This showed that we don't just learn through direct experience, we also learn by watching others. Observational learning involves 4 steps: attention, noticing the behavior; attention, remembering what you saw; reproduction, being able to imitate it; motivation, having a reason to do it. This explains how children pick up behaviors from parents, peers, or even influencers online, both good and bad. So why is all this important? Understanding how learning works helps us build better habits, break bad ones, improve education, understand human development, and even treat phobias or addictions through behavior therapy. For example, a technique called systematic desensitization uses classical conditioning to help people gradually overcome fears. And behavioral reinforcement is often used in schools, therapy, and even parenting. So whether you realize it or not, your environment is always teaching you something, shaping your behavior through patterns, consequences, and observation. In the next video, we'll dive into one of the most fascinating aspects of psychology: memory, how we store, use, and forget information. Because what we learn is only useful if we can remember it.